New York City pulses with life, a place where dreams soar and struggles linger. In the crowded streets of the Bronx, hope battles hardship every day. Across the river, Manhattan's skyscrapers gleam, home to the wealthy and powerful. This is a story of two worlds colliding, where one woman's courage sparks a love that defies all odds. Imagine a young nurse scraping by to save her dying father, stumbling upon a chance to change everything. But what if that chance comes with a price she can't yet see? This is the story of Emily Carter, a woman whose kindness rewrote her fate. In a cramped break room at Bronx General Hospital, Emily Carter sits alone, her eyes heavy from a double shift. She's 22, a contract nurse with no benefits, earning barely enough to cover rent on her tiny apartment. Her hands tremble as she reads a medical file left on the table. It's about a rare blood disorder linked to a secretive testing program run by Harrison Enterprises, a powerful company in Manhattan. The program offers a huge cash reward for anyone with a matching blood type. Emily's heart races. Her father, John Carter, needs $100,000 for a heart valve replacement. Without it, he won't survive the year. She's heard whispers about the program's leader, James Harrison, a billionaire CEO fighting a mysterious illness. Colleagues say he's desperate, testing hundreds of people to find a donor. Emily knows it's risky. What if they exploit her? But the thought of her father fading away pushes her forward. She slips the file into her bag, her mind made up. Tomorrow, she'll go to Harrison Enterprises and take the test. It's her only shot to save her dad. Maybe her only shot at a better life. The question lingers, what will this choice cost her? New York is a city of contrasts. In the Bronx, families cram into crumbling apartments and hospital waiting rooms overflow with people who can't pay their bills. Emily walks these streets daily, dodging broken sidewalks and street vendors, her nurses' scrubs stained from long shifts. She passes the Hudson River at dusk, its waters reflecting the city lights, a fleeting moment of beauty in her grueling life. Across the river, Manhattan shines like a different world. Its towering buildings house billionaires like James Harrison, who dine in penthouses and make deals that shape the city. This divide defines New York, a place where wealth and poverty live side by side, rarely touching. Yet Emily's decision to cross that divide will bridge these worlds in ways no one could predict. Her story is about love born from sacrifice, even in the hardest places. Emily Carter is no stranger to struggle. Growing up in the Bronx, she watched her mother Anna work endless hours as a seamstress to keep food on the table. Anna died when Emily was 10, leaving her with one lesson: kindness is a light that cuts through darkness. Emily clings to that lesson now, as she faces a world that often looks down on her. At the hospital, colleagues call her the errand nurse, dismissing her as a nobody who fetches coffee and changes bedpans. Patients snap at her, stressed by their own pain. Yet Emily stays gentle, calming scared kids with a smile or holding an elderly patient's hand. Her father, John, is her anchor. A former construction worker, he's tough but loving, always calling her his little fighter. Now, confined to a hospital bed, he needs a surgery Emily can't afford. The $100,000 price tag haunts her. She gave up her dream of medical school to work, pouring every penny into his care. Standing by the Hudson one night, she recalls her mother's words about kindness. That memory steels her resolve. The testing program is a long shot, but it's all she has. She won't let her father die without a fight. James Harrison is a name that echoes through Manhattan's elite circles. At 30, he's the CEO of Harrison Enterprises, a real estate empire that owns half the city's skyline. But behind his sharp suits and cold demeanor, James carries a secret. He has a rare blood disorder, a genetic condition that could kill him without regular transfusions from a donor with an ultra-rare blood type, found in maybe 1 in 10 million people. His wealth can't buy a cure, only time. James funds a blood testing program through hospitals, searching for a match. He's tested hundreds, maybe thousands, with no success. The process has hardened him. He's grown distant, distrustful, haunted by the fear of dying young. His father was a ruthless businessman, His mother died when he was a child, and his stepmother, Margaret, cares more about power than family. James feels alone, except for the faint hope that a donor exists. He doesn't know it yet, but Emily's choice to walk into his world will change everything, not just for him, but for them both. Emily's decision isn't easy. She knows the risks of dealing with a man like James Harrison. Rumors swirl about his ruthlessness, his willingness to do anything to survive. What if the program is a scam? Or worse, a way to exploit desperate people like her? She thinks of her father, his weak smile when she visits, his voice cracking as he tells her not to worry. She can't let him down. The $100,000 for his surgery is a mountain she can't climb alone. Her job barely covers their bills and her savings are gone. The testing program could be her lifeline, or it could pull her into something dangerous. Still, she makes the call. She books an appointment at Harrison Enterprises, her hands shaking as she dials. As she hangs up, she whispers a promise to her mother. She'll stay kind, no matter what comes. That promise will guide her through the trials ahead, into a world she never imagined. Emily Carter steps off the subway in Manhattan, her worn sneakers a stark contrast to the polished streets around her. She clutches a crumpled appointment letter, her heart pounding as she approaches the towering glass building of Harrison Enterprises. The lobby is a world of marble and chandeliers, filled with sharply dressed staff who eye her faded scrubs with disdain. A security guard blocks her path, sneering that this isn't a place for errand nurses. Emily stands her ground, her voice steady as she explains her appointment for the blood testing program. She pulls out medical terms, citing blood type compatibility and transfusion protocols, her years as a nurse giving her confidence. The guard relents, and she's led to a sterile lab, where technicians draw her blood. Hours later, a doctor calls her back. Her blood is a perfect match, the only one in thousands tested. James Harrison wants to meet her. Emily's relief mixes with fear. This could save her father, but what does a billionaire like James want in return? In a sleek office overlooking Manhattan, James Harrison sits behind a mahogany desk, his face unreadable. He's pale, his sharp features betraying the illness that haunts him. Emily stands before him, feeling small but defiant. James explains his condition, a rare blood disorder requiring regular transfusions from someone with her unique blood type. Without it, he'll die within months. He offers her $10 million to stay in New York, provide transfusions as needed, and sign a marriage contract to ensure her commitment. The marriage is a formality, he says, a legal way to protect his interests. Emily hesitates. $10 million would change everything. She could pay the $100,000 for her father's heart surgery, secure his future, and escape the grind of Bronx General. But marrying a stranger, even on paper, feels like stepping into a cage. She thinks of her father, his weak smile in the hospital. She signs the contract, her hand trembling. Days later, she moves into James's Manhattan penthouse, a world of luxury that feels like another planet. Emily's new life is overwhelming. The penthouse is a maze of glass and steel, with views of Central Park that make her dizzy. She feels like an intruder, her thrift store clothes out of place among designer furniture. James is rarely around, buried in meetings or resting from his illness. When he's home, he's distant, speaking in clipped tones about schedules and transfusions. Emily, ever the nurse, refuses to let his coldness deter her. She checks his vitals when he looks pale, her gentle touch surprising him. One evening she finds him feverish, his forehead burning. She brews a pot of chicken soup, a recipe her mother taught her, and leaves it by his bedside. James, unused to care, takes a hesitant sip. It's the first time he looks at her without a wall between them. But Emily senses his secret. He knows something about the transfusions he's not telling her, something that makes his eyes flicker with guilt. James is a man at war with himself. He spent years building walls, trusting no one in a world where wealth breeds betrayal. His disorder has stolen his strength, forcing him to rely on a stranger, a nurse from the Bronx who looks at him with unguarded kindness. Emily's care unsettles him. Her soup, her quiet questions about his health, her refusal to cower despite his coldness. They chip away at his defenses. He knows the transfusions carry a risk for her, a chance of heart strain that doctors say is low but not zero. He convinced himself the risk was negligible, that $10 million justified it. But watching Emily hum softly as she checks his pulse, he feels a pang of shame. He's hiding the truth and it's eating at him. He wants to tell her, but fear stops him. What if she walks away, leaving him to die? One afternoon, James finds Emily staring out at Central Park from the penthouse balcony. She's quiet, her face heavy with the weight of her new life. He suggests a walk, a rare impulse to connect. They stroll through Central Park, the autumn leaves crunching underfoot. James, usually guarded, opens up. He tells her about his mother, who died when he was 8, leaving him with a father who valued profit over family. His stepmother Margaret raised him but always kept him at arm's length. Emily listens, her eyes soft. She shares her own loss, her mother's death, and the lesson of kindness that guides her. For a moment, they're not a billionaire and a nurse, just two people carrying their scars. James feels something shift, a warmth he hasn't known in years. Emily too feels a spark, but she pushes it down. This is a contract, not a fairy tale. Trouble brews beyond the penthouse walls. Claire Thompson, James's childhood friend, is a fixture in Manhattan's elite circles. She's poised, beautiful, and fiercely possessive of James, whom she's always hoped to marry. When she learns about Emily, her jealousy ignites. At a charity gala where Emily stands awkwardly in a borrowed dress, Claire spreads whispers that she's a gold digger, a nobody who tricked James for his money. Guests murmur, their eyes cutting into Emily. She overhears, her face burning, but stays composed, remembering her mother's words about kindness. Margaret Harrison, James's stepmother, watches from the sidelines. A calculating woman, she sees Emily as a threat to her control over the Harrison fortune. She wants James to marry Claire, securing a powerful alliance. Margaret begins plotting, her smile cold as she pulls Claire aside. They agree, Emily must go by any means necessary. Emily feels the weight of their hostility, but she refuses to break. Back at the hospital, she visits a former colleague, Sarah, who's drowning in medical debt for her sick son. Emily slips her a check from her new funds, insisting it's no trouble. Sarah's tears of gratitude remind Emily why she signed James's contract, to help those she loved. She carries that purpose into the penthouse, determined to make the best of her strange new life. She starts small, leaving notes for James about his medication, her nurse's instincts guiding her. One night, she catches him reading one, a faint smile on his lips. It's a crack in his armor, a sign that her kindness is reaching him. But the whispers at the gala linger in her mind, and she wonders how long she can survive in a world that sees her as an outsider. The Bronx offers a welcome escape. Emily visits her father John, now recovering from his heart surgery. The $100,000 from James covered the procedure, and John is stronger, his gruff voice teasing her about living in a fancy penthouse. Over coffee in his cramped apartment, he eyes her warily. He mistakes James for some Wall Street shark, warning her not to trust rich guys who think they can buy anything. Emily laughs, assuring him it's just a contract, but John's words plant a seed of doubt. Is James hiding something beyond the transfusions? The thought nags at her, but she pushes it aside, focusing on her father's recovery. John's stubborn love grounds her, a reminder of why she took this risk. She leaves with a smile, unaware of the storm Claire and Margaret are brewing. Back in Manhattan, James notices a change in Emily. She's quieter, her smiles less frequent. He catches her scrubbing dishes in the penthouse kitchen, insisting she doesn't need the staff to do it. Her independence intrigues him, so different from the entitled world he knows. One evening, he finds her struggling to open a jar of pickles, her face scrunched in determination. On impulse, he takes the jar, their hands brushing. They laugh, and Emily challenges him to make a sandwich, teasing that billionaires probably can't cook. James, surprising himself, agrees. The kitchen becomes a mess of mustard and bread, their laughter echoing. For a moment, the contract fades, and they're just Emily and James. But as she smiles, James feels the weight of his secret. The transfusions could hurt her, and he's running out of time to tell her. Claire and Margaret's plans escalate. Claire digs into Emily's past, uncovering her mother's death and her father's illness. She twists the story, leaking to a gossip blog that Emily's a desperate opportunist who faked her way into James's life. The blog spreads, and Emily feels the sting of judgment at the hospital, where colleagues whisper behind her back. Margaret, meanwhile, pressures James to end the marriage, arguing that Emily's presence weakens the Harrison name. James brushes her off, his loyalty to Emily growing, but Margaret's words fuel his guilt. He knows the truth about the transfusions could drive Emily away. As Emily navigates this hostile world, her kindness remains her shield. She helps a patient at the hospital, an elderly man who reminds her of her father, reinforcing her resolve to stay true to herself, no matter the cost. Emily's days settle into a strange rhythm. She splits her time between the penthouse and the hospital, where she picks up occasional shifts to feel normal. Her care for James becomes routine, but it's more than duty. She notices his small gestures, like leaving her favorite coffee on the counter or asking about her day. These moments make her heart flutter, but she reminds herself of the contract. This isn't love, she tells herself, just a job. Yet the gala whispers and blog rumors weigh on her. She feels like a fraud in James's world, a nurse pretending to be a wife. One night, she overhears James on the phone, his voice tense as he discusses her transfusions with a doctor. The word risk catches her ear, and her stomach twists. What is he hiding? She needs answers, but she's not ready to confront him yet. John's recovery brings a burst of joy. Emily takes him to a diner in the Bronx, their old haunt. He grumbles about her fancy new life, joking that she's probably eating caviar with that Wall Street guy. Emily laughs, but his words stir her unease. She tells him about the gala, the way Claire and the others looked at her. John, ever protective, tells her to watch her back. Rich people, he says, always have an angle. His words echo as she returns to the penthouse, where James waits with a rare smile. He's holding a sandwich, proudly showing off his attempt at her recipe. The gesture melts her guard, and they share a quiet dinner, the city lights twinkling outside. For the first time, Emily feels at home, but the word risk lingers, a shadow over their growing bond. Claire watches from the shadows, her jealousy turning to obsession. She meets Margaret at a discreet cafe, their alliance solidifying. Margaret reveals her fear. If James keeps Emily, he might transfer assets to her, cutting Margaret out of the Harrison fortune. Claire suggests a bolder move, something to make Emily a liability. Margaret agrees, her eyes glinting with ambition. They need a plan that will break James's trust in Emily or force her out for good. Claire proposes tampering with the medical process, a way to make Emily seem unreliable or dangerous. Margaret nods, her mind already spinning. They don't know that Emily's kindness is forging a bond with James that won't break easily. But their scheme is set, and the consequences will test Emily and James in ways neither could imagine. Emily's resolve hardens. She won't let the rumors or the coldness of James's world change her. She thinks of her mother, who faced hardship with a smile, always helping neighbors despite their own struggles. That memory drives Emily to keep going, to keep being kind. She leaves a note for James reminding him to take his medication, her neat handwriting a small act of care. When he finds it, he pauses, his fingers tracing the words. It's a fleeting moment, but it deepens his feelings. He knows he can't keep his secret much longer. The transfusions are scheduled to increase, and the risk to Emily's heart is growing. He needs to tell her, but the fear of losing her, of losing his own life, holds him back. The clock is ticking. As Emily settles into her role, she feels a shift. James's walls are crumbling, his glances softer, his voice warmer. She catches herself smiling when he speaks, her heart betraying her resolve to keep things professional. But the rumors, the whispers, and that overheard word risk keep her on edge. She's in too deep, tied to a man whose world could crush her. Yet she can't walk away, not when her father's alive because of this deal, not when James's small kindnesses make her feel seen. She stands at the penthouse window, Central Park stretching below, and makes a silent vow. She'll face whatever comes, just as her mother did. She doesn't know that Claire and Margaret's plan is about to upend everything, pushing her and James to the edge. The penthouse is quiet, the Manhattan skyline glittering outside, but tension hums in the air. James Harrison lies on a medical bed in a private room, his face pale as monitors beep softly. His blood disorder has flared, a sudden attack that leaves him weak and struggling to breathe. Emily Carter stands by his side, her nurse's instincts kicking in. She adjusts his IV, her hands steady despite the fear in her chest. The doctor warns that James needs a transfusion now or he won't make it through the night. Emily nods, rolling up her sleeve. She's done this before, but something feels off. The medication she's given to prep for the transfusion looks different, a faint cloudiness in the vial. Her training screams warning. She hesitates, glancing at James, his eyes half closed. She could stop, demand a check, but there's no time. For her father, for the $10 million, and maybe for the man she's starting to care for, she lets the needle pierce her skin. As the transfusion begins, Emily feels a sharp pain in her chest, her vision blurring. She grips the bed rail, fighting to stay upright. Her nurse's mind races. The medication was tampered with. She tries to speak, but her voice fails. James, barely conscious, doesn't see her collapse. The doctor shouts, rushing to her side as alarms blare. Emily's heart is straining, the tainted medication pushing it to the brink. In the chaos, James stirs, his eyes finding her crumpled on the floor. Panic cuts through his haze. He demands answers, his voice hoarse. The doctor admits the medication was swapped, a deliberate act. James's mind snaps to Claire Thompson, the only one with access and motive. Rage and guilt crash over him. He ordered the transfusion, and now Emily's life hangs in the balance. He swears to make this right, no matter the cost. In the hospital, Emily is rushed to the ICU, tubes and monitors surrounding her. James, still weak, forces himself to her bedside, ignoring the doctor's protests. He holds her hand, her fingers cold against his. The doctor delivers grim news. Emily's heart is failing, damaged by the tainted medication. A rare procedure, using blood drawn directly from a donor's heart, could save her, but it's risky for the donor. James doesn't hesitate. He demands they use his blood, his voice breaking. The doctor warns that it could kill him, given his condition. James doesn't care. Emily saved him, not just with her blood, but with her kindness, her stubborn warmth that cracked his walls. He can't lose her. As they prep him for the procedure, he whispers an apology to her unconscious form, confessing he loves her. The needle enters his chest, and he prays it's enough. The procedure is a grueling success. Emily's vitals stabilize, her heart beating stronger. James, drained and pale, survives but needs days to recover. He stays by her side, refusing to leave. When Emily wakes, her eyes are heavy, but she sees James, his face etched with worry. He tells her about Claire's betrayal, how he banished her from the Harrison family and filed charges for attempted harm. Emily's head spins, not just from the ordeal, but from James's confession. He loves her. The words feel unreal, a dream she doesn't trust. But his hand in hers, his raw honesty, grounds her. She wants to speak, to ask about the risk he took, but exhaustion pulls her back to sleep. James watches her, vowing to protect her from the world that tried to tear them apart. But a new storm is coming, one he can't yet see. Weeks later, Emily is stronger, back in the penthouse, but her recovery is slow. At a checkup, the doctor delivers stunning news. She's pregnant. Joy mixes with fear. The tainted medication left her body fragile, and the pregnancy could strain her heart further. James, still haunted by the transfusion ordeal, feels a surge of protectiveness. He can't lose her, not after coming so close. The doctor mentions a rare drug, developed in Europe, that could stabilize her condition and protect the baby. It's experimental, insanely expensive, and nearly impossible to get. James doesn't blink. He calls every contact, from medical researchers to international suppliers, pouring millions into securing the drug. Emily watches him, torn between gratitude and guilt. She feels like a burden, her presence pulling James into danger again. But his determination, his quiet "I won't lose you," silences her doubts. James's efforts pay off. The drug arrives, a small vial that holds Emily's future. She starts treatment, her strength returning day by day. But the peace is short-lived. Margaret Harrison, James's stepmother, sees Emily as a growing threat. If James transfers assets to her or their child, Margaret's control over the Harrison fortune vanishes. She's watched Emily's influence grow, the way James softens around her, and it terrifies her. Margaret decides to act. She hires a group of discreet operatives, men with no ties to the Harrison name, to kidnap Emily. The plan is simple: hold her hostage, force James to step down as CEO, and secure Margaret's power. She doesn't care if Emily lives or dies as long as the Harrison legacy stays hers. The trap is set, and Emily, unaware, walks right into it. Emily is leaving the hospital after a checkup, her mind on the baby and James's relentless care. A black van pulls up, and before she can react, two men grab her, shoving her inside. She fights, kicking and screaming, but they overpower her, tying her hands. The van speeds to an abandoned warehouse in the Jersey suburbs, far from Manhattan's lights. Inside, Emily is bound to a chair, her heart racing. Margaret steps from the shadows, her face cold. She explains her plan. James will resign, or Emily and the baby will pay. Emily's fear turns to defiance. She thinks of her mother's lesson, kindness as strength, and vows to survive. She scans the room, noting the men's movements, looking for a way out. Her nurse's calm under pressure keeps her focused, even as hope feels distant. James is in a board meeting when his phone buzzes with a blocked number. Margaret's voice is sharp, demanding he come alone to the warehouse. She sends a photo of Emily, bound and pale, and James's world tilts. He leaves without explanation, driving through the city in a haze of rage and fear. At the warehouse, he faces Margaret and her hired men. She holds a stolen Harrison family contract, a document that could strip his CEO title if leveraged. She demands he sign it over. James refuses, his eyes on Emily. The men advance, and James fights back, taking blows to shield her. His strength wanes, blood trickling from his lip, but he keeps them at bay. Emily, watching, feels her heart break. He's risking everything for her, just as he did with his blood. Emily's mind races. She notices one of the men, distracted, leaving his knife on a crate nearby. She feigns weakness, slumping in her chair, her voice trembling as she begs for water. The man, annoyed, steps closer, loosening her ropes to hand her a bottle. It's her chance. She grabs the knife, cutting herself free, and lunges at him, knocking him down. The noise draws the others, but James seizes the moment, tackling another man. Together they fight, Emily's desperation matching James's fury. She's no warrior, but her will to protect her baby, and James fuels her. They overpower the men, and James confronts Margaret, snatching the contract from her hands. He calls the police, his voice steady despite his injuries. Emily clings to him, tears falling as sirens wail in the distance. The warehouse grows quiet, the men subdued, Margaret cornered. James holds Emily close, checking her for injuries, his hands shaking. She's bruised but alive, the baby safe for now. He looks at Margaret, his stepmother, the woman who raised him but never loved him. Her betrayal cuts deep, but he's done with her games. He tells her she's finished, her power over the Harrison family gone. Margaret spits venom, calling Emily a nobody who will ruin him. James doesn't flinch. Emily is his family now, he says, and nothing will change that. The police arrive, cuffing Margaret and her men. Emily leans into James, her strength fading. She thinks of her mother, of kindness as a light in the dark. That light has carried her through, and it's brought her to James, to love, to a future she never dared dream. As they leave the warehouse, Emily feels the weight of the past weeks. The transfusion, the pregnancy, the kidnapping, it's all too much. But James's arm around her is steady, a promise of safety. He drives her back to Manhattan, the city lights blurring through her tears. At the penthouse, he sits her down, his voice soft but urgent. He tells her everything. The risk of the transfusions, his guilt for hiding it, his fear of losing her. Emily listens, her heart aching. She's angry he kept the truth, but his sacrifice, his blood, his fight for her, it all speaks louder than words. She touches his bruised face, her fingers gentle. They're in this together now, she says, no more secrets. The baby, their love, it's worth fighting for. James pulls her close, and for the first time they feel like a true family. The ordeal leaves scars, but it also binds them. Emily's pregnancy is still fragile, but the rare drug is working, her checkups showing steady progress. James throws himself into securing her health, his wealth and connections ensuring she has the best care. He's changed, the cold CEO replaced by a man who loves fiercely. Emily sees it in his eyes, the way he watches her, the way he talks about their child. But she struggles with her own fears. She's a nurse, not an heiress, and the Harrison world feels like a trap waiting to spring. She thinks of her father, John, his warnings about rich men. Yet James's actions, his willingness to die for her, silence those doubts. She knows they'll face more battles, but they'll face them together. The warehouse was just the beginning, a test they passed, but not the end. Margaret's arrest sends shockwaves through Manhattan's elite. The Harrison board scrambles, but James holds firm, his grip on the company unshaken. He vows to protect Emily, to make sure no one threatens her again. Claire's betrayal is exposed, her name dragged through the courts and gossip blogs. The city buzzes with the story. The billionaire and the nurse, a love that defied poison and power. Emily hates the attention, but James shields her, keeping the press at bay. She spends her days resting, her body healing, her mind on the baby. She dreams of her mother, of the kindness that led her here. That kindness saved James, saved her, and now it's building a family. But the Harrison legacy is a heavy weight, and Emily knows their fight for peace is far from over. James takes Emily to Central Park, a quiet escape from the chaos. They sit on a bench, the same spot where they first connected, the autumn leaves now replaced by winter's bare branches. He holds her hand, his thumb tracing her knuckles. He tells her about the future he wants, a home, their child, a life where she never feels like an outsider. Emily smiles, her heart full but cautious. She's still a Bronx girl, still a nurse who values her independence. She tells him she'll keep working, keep helping people, no matter how much money they have. James nods, respecting her strength. They watch the sunset, the city fading into dusk. It's a moment of hope, but Emily senses the shadows of the Harrison world lurking. She's ready to face them, with James by her side. The climax leaves Emily and James forever changed. They've survived betrayal, danger, and the edge of death. Emily's kindness, her mother's lesson, has been her guide, turning a contract into love. James's sacrifice, his blood and his fight, has rewritten his life, giving him a purpose beyond wealth. Their baby, a fragile miracle, binds them to a future they'll protect at all costs. But Margaret's schemes and Claire's poison have left wounds, and the Harrison name carries enemies. Emily thinks of her father, his recovery, his gruff love. She knows he'll be part of this new chapter, an anchor in her storm. As they leave Central Park, hand in hand, Emily feels the baby move, a tiny flutter of life. It's a promise, a reason to keep going, no matter what lies ahead. The worst may be over, but their story is just beginning. The hospital room is a sanctuary after the chaos of the warehouse. Emily Carter rests in a crisp white bed, her bruises fading but her heart still fragile from the ordeal. James Harrison sits beside her, his own injuries bandaged, his eyes never leaving her. The rare drug from Switzerland is working, strengthening her for the pregnancy, but she's not out of danger yet. Emily feels the weight of everything, the transfusion that nearly killed her, Claire's betrayal, Margaret's kidney. Yet James's presence anchors her. He's different now, softer, his cold CEO mask gone. She reaches for his hand, her voice quiet but firm. She thanks him for saving her, for risking his life, for loving her when she felt like a nobody. James shakes his head, saying she's the one who saved him, not just his body but his heart. Emily's recovery is slow, but her nurse's instincts drive her to help. She works with the doctors, suggesting small adjustments to her treatment based on her experience at Bronx General. Her strength impresses the staff, who once saw her as just a contract nurse. James watches, proud but haunted. He blames himself for Margaret's actions, for dragging Emily into his world. He opens up, telling her about the guilt he's carried since the transfusions began. He hid the risks, thinking he could control the outcome, but nearly lost her. Emily listens, her anger fleeting. His sacrifice, giving his own blood, speaks louder than his mistakes. She forgives him, her hand squeezing his. They're a team now, she says, no more secrets. The moment feels like a vow, sealing their bond as something deeper than any contract could define. James knows words aren't enough. He needs to show Emily she's his future. At a Harrison family gathering held in a grand Manhattan ballroom, he takes a bold step. The room is filled with elite guests, some who once whispered that Emily was a gold digger. James stands, his voice carrying over the clinking glasses. He declares Emily his wife, not just on paper but in his heart, the woman who gave him a reason to live. He shares their story, the transfusions, the baby, the fight against betrayal. The crowd is stunned, some faces softening, others skeptical. Emily, in a simple dress, feels exposed but meets their gazes. A few guests, including James's old friend Tom, applaud, their support a small victory. Emily's cheeks flush, but she stands taller, feeling like she belongs for the first time. The declaration shifts something in Emily. She's no longer the outsider, the nurse from the Bronx playing a role. She thinks of her mother, Anna, whose words about kindness echo in her mind. In a quiet moment, as she and James leave the ballroom, she recalls a childhood memory. Anna, exhausted from work, still made time to help a neighbor with groceries, her smile never fading. That kindness led Emily here, to a love she never expected. She shares the memory with James, her voice thick with emotion. He listens, his arm around her, and promises to honor that legacy. They walk through Manhattan, the city lights a backdrop to their shared resolve. Emily knows the Harrison world will always judge her, but with James by her side, she's ready to face it as his equal. Margaret Harrison's downfall is complete. The police investigation, fueled by James's evidence, uncovers her financial schemes and the kidnapping plot. The Harrison board, loyal to James, votes unanimously to strip her of all shares and influence. Margaret, once a queen of Manhattan's elite, is left with nothing, her name erased from the family legacy. She tries to plead, claiming she acted to protect the Harrison name, but James is unmoved. She betrayed him, endangered Emily and their child, and he's done with her. Margaret leaves the city, her reputation in ruins, a cautionary tale in gossip columns. Emily hears the news from James, her heart heavy but relieved. She doesn't hate Margaret, but justice feels right. She focuses on her health, her baby, knowing the Harrison fortune is now James's to wield for good. Claire Thompson faces her own reckoning. The lawsuit James filed gains momentum, with lab reports proving she tampered with Emily's medication. Her socialite status crumbles, her invitations to galas drying up. Manhattan's elite turn their backs, and Claire becomes a pariah, her name synonymous with scandal. A gossip blog, the same one she used against Emily, now mocks her downfall. Emily learns of it from a hospital colleague, who marvels at how a nurse outlasted a heiress. Emily doesn't celebrate. She's too focused on her future, on James, on the life growing inside her. But the victory is a quiet triumph, proof that kindness and truth can outshine malice. She visits the hospital, helping an elderly patient with a smile, her mother's lesson alive in every small act. John Carter, Emily's father, is a steady presence in her recovery, now walking without pain thanks to the $100,000 surgery funded by James. He visits her at the penthouse. His gruff demeanor hides his worry, but his eyes soften when he sees Emily's strength returning. He pulls James aside, half joking that he still doesn't trust Wall Street guys, but admits James has proven himself. John hugs Emily, his voice cracking as he says she's his fighter, always has been. The moment grounds her, a reminder of why she took the risk that led her here. She tells John about the baby, and his face lights up, already planning to spoil his grandchild. Emily laughs, her heart full, knowing her father's love will be part of their new family. James wants to do more than protect Emily. He wants to honor her. He sits with her one evening, the city quiet outside. He proposes a gift, not just for her, but for the world she cares about. He's created a $1 million charitable fund in her name, the Emily Carter Foundation, to help patients like John, people crushed by medical debt. The fund will support Bronx General, ensuring no one faces the choice Emily did. Emily's eyes fill with tears. It's not the money, but the thought, the way James sees her heart. She thinks of her mother, who'd be proud of this legacy. John, when he hears, claps James on the back, calling him a good kid for once. The gesture cements their bond, a family built not on wealth, but on shared values. Emily's health improves, the rare drug a lifeline for her and the baby. She starts planning for the future, determined to keep working as a nurse, even part-time. She loves her job, the chance to help people, and James supports her, admiring her independence. They talk about their child, imagining a life beyond Manhattan's chaos. Emily wants a home where their baby can grow up grounded, maybe in a quieter part of New York. James agrees, his priorities shifting. He's no longer the man who lived for deals and power. Emily has shown him what matters: love, family, doing good. They spend evenings together, James reading medical journals to understand her treatment, Emily teasing him about his terrible handwriting. Their laughter fills the penthouse, a stark contrast to the danger they've faced. The Harrison world still watches, some with admiration, others with envy. At a hospital fundraiser, Emily attends as James's wife, no longer hiding. She wears a simple dress, her confidence quiet but unshakable. Tom, James's friend, toasts their strength, calling Emily the best thing to happen to the Harrison name. A few guests whisper, but Emily doesn't care. She's earned her place, not through wealth, but through courage. She chats with a nurse from Bronx General, swapping stories of long shifts, and feels at home. James watches, his pride clear. He joins her, his arm around her waist, and they share a look that says everything. They've survived betrayal, fought for each other, and come out stronger. The fundraiser ends with a donation from the Emily Carter Foundation, a promise of hope for others. Emily visits her father's apartment in the Bronx, a ritual that keeps her grounded. John is back to his old self, tinkering with tools and planning his new cafe, funded by a small loan from James's foundation. He teases Emily about her fancy life, but his pride is obvious. He shows her a photo of her mother, Anna, smiling in a park. Emily touches it, her heart aching. She tells John how Anna's lesson about kindness carried her through, from the blood test to the warehouse. John nods, saying Anna would love James, despite his Wall Street suits. Emily smiles, knowing it's true. She leaves with a promise to bring James for dinner, a blending of their worlds. The Bronx, with its grit and heart, will always be part of her, no matter where life takes her. James reflects on his own journey. He's reclaimed Harrison Enterprises, but it's Emily who's reshaped his purpose. He thinks of his mother, who wanted the company to mean something beyond profit. With Emily's influence, he's starting to make that real. The foundation is just the beginning. He plans to fund more hospitals to honor the nurse who changed him. At night, he watches Emily sleep, her hand resting on her stomach. The baby, their miracle, is a chance to build something new, a family rooted in love, not legacy. He knows challenges remain, whispers of Margaret's allies, the pressure of his name, but with Emily, he's ready. She's his strength, his reason to keep going. Their love, tested by fire, is unbreakable, a foundation for the life they'll share. Emily feels the baby move, a gentle reminder of what's at stake. Her health is stable, but she's cautious, following the doctor's orders to the letter. She's grateful for James, for the drug, for the chance to be a mother. But she's still Emily Carter, the nurse who fought her way through the Bronx. She won't let the Harrison world define her. She plans to return to work after the baby to keep helping people. James supports her, his respect for her independence clear. They talk about names, about dreams for their child. Emily wants a name that honors her mother, maybe Anna. James agrees, his voice soft. They're building something real, something theirs. The penthouse, once cold, feels like home, filled with their plans, their love, their quiet strength. The city keeps turning, unaware of the battles Emily and James have fought. The gossip blogs have moved on, chasing new scandals. Claire's trial looms, Margaret's name fades, and the Harrison board stabilizes under James's leadership. Emily and James focus on what matters: each other, their baby, their family. They visit Central Park, sitting on their bench, the place where they first opened up. The winter air is crisp, but their hands are warm, entwined. Emily leans into James, her heart steady. She thinks of her mother, of the kindness that led her here. She thinks of her father, of the life they're building. James kisses her forehead, promising to be there, always. They've faced the worst and come out whole. Now they're ready for the best, a future they'll shape together. Spring blooms in New York, the city softening under a warm sun. Emily Carter and James Harrison have left the chaos of Manhattan behind, settling into a cozy house in a quiet suburb just outside the city. The house is modest by Harrison standards, with a small garden and a porch where Emily likes to sit, her hand resting on her growing belly. She's stronger now, the rare drug stabilizing her heart, giving her and the baby a fighting chance. She's back to work part-time at a local hospital, her nurse's scrubs a badge of pride. Emily refuses to let wealth define her. She wants to keep helping people, to honor her mother's lesson of kindness. James supports her, his admiration clear in the way he watches her pack her work bag, ready to make a difference. The suburb is a world away from the penthouse, but it feels like home. Emily decorates the nursery, painting the walls a soft yellow, imagining their child's laughter filling the space. James, once a stranger to domestic life, dives in with surprising enthusiasm. He builds a crib, his hands clumsy but determined, earning a teasing laugh from Emily when he misplaces a screw. They spend evenings planning, choosing a name. Anna, after Emily's mother. The name feels right, a tribute to the woman whose kindness led Emily to this moment. James shares his own dreams, wanting their child to grow up grounded, free from the Harrison pressures he faced. They're building a family, not a dynasty, and every small moment, from folding baby clothes to debating diaper brands, strengthens their bond. James has changed, the cold CEO a distant memory. He still runs Harrison Enterprises, but his focus has shifted. The Emily Carter Foundation, now fully funded with $1 million, is transforming lives at Bronx General, covering medical bills for families like Emily's once was. He visits the hospital with her, seeing the impact firsthand. A young mother thanking them, tears in her eyes, for saving her son's life. James feels a purpose he never knew, one Emily sparked. He's honoring his own mother's wish for the company to do good, not just profit. At home, he tries cooking, determined to master Emily's sandwich recipe. The kitchen becomes a mess, mustard smearing his tie, but Emily's laughter makes it worth it. These moments, simple and real, are what he lives for now. Emily's father, John Carter, is a constant in their new life. He's opened a small cafe in the Bronx, a dream he never thought possible, funded by a loan from the foundation. The cafe is a hit, with locals flocking for his strong coffee and gruff charm. John visits often, bringing homemade pies and stories of his customers. He still calls James that Wall Street guy, but it's affectionate now, a nod to the man who proved himself. John dotes on Emily, fussing over her health, insisting she rest more. When she tells him about naming the baby Anna, his eyes glisten. He hugs her, saying her mother would be proud. Emily feels it too, a connection to the past that grounds her future. John's cafe becomes their weekend spot, a place where their worlds, Bronx and Harrison, blend seamlessly. The Harrison legacy no longer looms like a threat. James has secured the company, his leadership unchallenged after Margaret's fall. The gossip blogs have quieted, their focus shifted to new scandals. Claire's trial is ongoing, her name a footnote in Manhattan's drama. Emily avoids the headlines, content to let the past fade. She's focused on the present, on James, on their baby. At the hospital, she's respected now, her colleagues marveling at her strength. She shares stories of her old shifts, laughing about spilled coffee and endless paperwork. But she's serious about her work. Helping patients keeps her grounded, a reminder of who she is. James joins her sometimes, carrying her bag, his billionaire status irrelevant in the face of her quiet determination. They're a team, their love a steady anchor in a world that once tried to break them. Emily reflects on her journey, sitting on the porch as the sun sets. She was a nurse struggling to save her father, John, with a $100,000 surgery bill she couldn't pay. A chance blood test led her to James, to a contract that became love. She faced betrayal, danger, and a body pushed to its limits, but she never lost her mother's lesson. Kindness is strength. That kindness saved James, built the foundation, and brought her a family. She thinks of the warehouse, of James fighting for her, of his blood saving her life. She thinks of their baby, Anna, a miracle they'll cherish. Emily knows challenges may come, but she's ready. Her hand rests on her stomach, feeling a gentle kick. She smiles, knowing she's not alone, not anymore. James is her partner, her home, her love. James watches Emily from the doorway, his heart full. He's learned to live again, to love without fear because of her. The Harrison name, once a burden, is now a tool to do good thanks to Emily's influence. He thinks of their first walk in Central Park, when she listened to his pain without judgment. That moment changed him, and every moment since has deepened his love. He joins her on the porch, sitting close, their hands entwined. They talk about the future, about raising Anna with values, not wealth. James wants her to know the Bronx, to understand her mother's roots. Emily nods, her eyes bright. They're writing a new story, one where love and kindness win. The city hums in the distance, but here, in their quiet corner, they've found peace. Central Park calls them back, a place woven into their story. They visit one afternoon, sitting on their bench, now warmed by spring sun. The park is alive with joggers, kids, and blooming flowers, a contrast to the winter chill of their last visit. Emily leans into James, her head on his shoulder. She shares her mother's lesson one last time, saying kindness led her to him, to Anna, to this moment. James kisses her forehead, his voice low. She taught him to love, he says, to be more than a name on a building. They watch the skyline, Manhattan's towers distant but ever present. It's a reminder of the world they've left behind, the battles they've won. Their love, tested by fire, is stronger than any fortune, any legacy. They hold each other, ready for whatever comes next. Emily's work at the hospital continues, a balance to her new life. She takes shorter shifts, but every patient she helps feels like a victory. Colleagues ask about her story, and she shares bits, always crediting James's support. She's proud of the foundation, of the lives it's saving. One day, a young nurse thanks her, saying the foundation paid for her brother's surgery. Emily's eyes well up, thinking of her father's struggle, of her own. She's come full circle, from a desperate nurse to a woman changing lives. James picks her up after her shift, his smile warm. They drive home, talking about Anna, about the cafe, about John's latest pie recipe. These small moments, ordinary and precious, are what they fought for. Emily knows their story isn't perfect, but it's theirs, built on love and resilience. John's cafe becomes a family hub. Emily and James visit on weekends, sitting at a corner table as John pours coffee and grumbles about city traffic. He's thriving, his cafe a community staple, a testament to his grit. He shows Emily a photo of her mother hung on the wall, her smile radiant. Emily touches it, her heart full. John pulls her aside, saying she's made him proud, just like Anna would be. He even warms to James, admitting he's not such a bad guy despite the suits. Emily laughs, hugging her father. The cafe, with its worn tables and warm lights, feels like the Bronx she loves, a piece of her past that fits her future. She and James leave hand in hand, their daughter's name a quiet promise between them. The city keeps spinning, but Emily and James have found their rhythm. The Harrison board is stable, the foundation thriving, and Anna's arrival grows closer. Emily's health holds, her checkups positive, the drug a quiet miracle. She and James plan a small baby shower, inviting John, Tom, and a few hospital friends. The event is simple, filled with laughter and love, a far cry from Manhattan's galas. Emily looks around, seeing her worlds united, the Bronx, the hospital, the man she loves. She thinks of the blood test that started it all, a desperate choice that led to this. She thinks of her mother, whose kindness lives in every step she takes. Emily knows life won't always be easy, but with James, John, and Anna, she's ready. Their love is her strength, her home, her everything. As summer approaches, Emily and James return to Central Park, their bench a touchstone. They sit, watching kids play, the city alive around them. Emily shares her final reflection. She was a nurse fighting to save her father, a woman who took a chance and found love. James was a stranger, a contract, but became her partner, her heart. Their baby Anna is a gift they'll cherish, a symbol of their resilience. Emily's voice is steady, her words a testament to kindness, to love that transcends wealth and status. James adds his own, saying Emily gave him a life worth living. They stand, hand in hand, the sunset painting the sky. Their story, born in a city of contrasts, proves that love thrives in kindness, not power. It's a legacy they'll pass to Anna, a light that will never fade. This story of Emily and James is a reminder that love can bloom in the hardest places. Their journey, from a desperate blood test to a family built on sacrifice, shows what kindness can do. It's a story for anyone who's fought for love, who's faced impossible odds and kept going. What's your story? What's the kindest thing you've done for someone you love? Share it in the comments below, and let's keep these stories alive. If Emily and James' tale moved you, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell for more stories of love and resilience. Your support keeps us telling these tales, connecting us through the power of human connection. Thank you for watching, for believing in love, and for joining us on this journey. Until next time, keep kindness in your heart.